Thank you for joining me for Cold Counter. In this episode, I'll be teaching you how to stop feeding Warwick in my ranked games. Alrighty, so Warwick draws his power from two primary categories, his sustain and his mobility. So we'll break these two categories down, explain why they are the way they are, give you some items to use against him, and some champions that excel at handling him. First, breaking down his sustain, he draws this from two primary categories. First, his passive, which deals a set amount of magic damage every auto attack. What makes this sustain is that if Warwick is below 50% of his health, he'll heal any of that magic damage back. This effect is not doubled, but tripled when Warwick is below 25% health. So when he's low on health, he'll be able to heal quite heavily. This provides some decent synergy with Warlord's Bloodlust, which Warwick may end up taking upon occasion, so do watch out for that. Now the second area where Warwick draws his sustain from is his Q, which is something that's going to synergize extremely well with Trinity Force. Any damage that his Q deals will be healed back to Warwick. Now the way to counter this isn't too difficult.
You'll want to get your paws on some Grievous Wounds, which is an effect that will reduce healing to a target by 40%. To do that,
try buying a Morel and Omicron, which applies Grievous Wounds to targets below 35% health. On top of that, you can also buy an Early Executioner's Calling and build that into a Mortal Reminder. That will apply Grievous Wounds on all your auto attacks. When Warwick starts getting low on health, you need to make sure to burst him down. One of the best ways to outplay someone is activating Warwick's E while he's low on health so he gets extra sustain. Warwick's E gives him increased durability, starting at 35% and scaling up from there, so do watch out for that. Now, when it comes to his mobility, he draws this from two primary categories. First, his W, and then his ulti. Now, his W gives him massive boosts to movement speeds against targets that are low on health. It also gives him increased attack speed against low health targets. Now, the way to counter this is pretty simple. Just don't stay in lane if you're low on health. I know you're playing Ahri into Zed, and you're about to get that sweet outplay, but calm down. Warwick will come in like a wrecking ball and wreck your face. He gets increased movement speed against targets that are below 50% health, and targets that are below 25% health. This movement speed boost gets tripled. So when you're low on health and you're going for that sweet ass outplay, stop. He'll come out of nowhere and he will bite you in the ass, both literally and figuratively. Now, his ulti is pretty interesting too. Remember that I said earlier that the movement speed against lower health targets is tripled. Well, his ultimate is Infinite Duress. What this does is makes him leap towards a target and then suppress them for 1.5 seconds. Now, the way the gap closer works getting to your target scales with movement speed, so he'll dash up to 2.5 seconds of movement speed in a given direction. What this means is that the more movement speed you have, the more ground you would cover in 2.5 seconds, and because of that, the more range his ultimate will have. So the lower you are in health, not only the easier are you making it for him to get to you, but you're also making it easier for him to ult you by giving him a greater gap closer. So don't tempt fate. If you're low on health, back. When he gets low on health, save your burst so that you can cut him out of the fight when he would be getting the most gold value out of his abilities. Something you'll want to keep in mind is that Warwick's ultimate has unstoppable force on it. In other words, you cannot CC him while he's headed to the target. You'll need to wait until his ultimate is finished before you can lock the sucker down and kill him. When it comes to defensive items, it's going to be a little more difficult to itemize against him. Remember that his passive applies on-hit magic damage, so just buying straight armor won't necessarily be effective against him. On top of that, a raw tank usually won't be able to 1v1 him because his Q has 6% max health damage on it, so you'll need to be careful for that. I would highly advise building pseudo tank, items that reduce attack speed, or mixed defensive items. For example, Phantom Dancer and Death's Dance, excellent. You could also buy Frozen Heart if you want to reduce his attack speed. And don't forget to buy Guardian Angel. If he does happen to catch you, you can die and have your team finish him off and then come back up and you'll be fine. In conjunction with that, it also offers mixed defensive stats, both MR and armor. Okay, so I've got a couple of great champions that counter Warwick pretty well. The first of which is Jax. As with any champion that wants to auto-attack you a lot, Jax excels at shutting those kinds of people down, and he is excellent at handling Warwick, especially for those low health outplays. Warwick does nothing but auto-attack, and Jax's counter-strike, as well as his ability to build both tanky and deal heavy damage, makes him pretty good at taking care of Warwick. When it comes to ADCs, I cannot advise enough you take champions that are able to kite with ease, especially since Warwick is vulnerable to kiting. Champions like Kalista or Lucian, which will be able to handle him relatively well. On top of that, Taric is an excellent support to handle him. When Warwick goes in to commit to a fight, you can time your stun on Warwick to end as soon as the ultimate is finished, since he'll be standing still for a period of time. As soon as that's done, 9 times out of 10 your ADC isn't dead, and while he's stunned and your ADC is kiting, you can channel your ultimate and shut the guy down. Thank you for watching, guys. You'll have to let me know whether or not you plan on adding Warwick to your champion rotation. I personally will be. He's deceptively simple, with a decently high skill ceiling, especially with the mobility on his Q, so I think he's going to be somewhat fascinating. Anyways, you guys have an awesome day out on the Rift.